Okay, hello everyone. Today's blog is sort of a video tutorial on some behind the scenes work of how we use InDesign. So this here is just a blank document. You just go up here to File, New Document, and you've got here some settings. This is A4, this is your width in millimeters, your orientation. You can make it portrait or landscape. Change your columns, which I typically never really do. Change your margins, again I don't really do. Bleed and slug, that's for when you're going to a printer and you want things to be cut. I might do that in another day. And of course your intent up here is print, but you can do web or mobile as well. Facing pages just means that the pages will look like this. When I add some more, 1, 2, now we've got facing pages. You can just hide them all singly like this, but because our intention here is to make a book, I find it much handier to see how it might look visually here. So that button there, this one, creates a new page, and you can create as many pages as you want, but it's important to remember when you're printing to keep your numbers in fours so that it's nice and even. If you try to print 10 pages and then make that into a book, you'll have a little bit of problem. So I try and always stick it to multipliers of 4. So this is a new document, and over here on our left side we can add text boxes. So let's just, and you can make them any shape or size. Let's just do a little text box here. Text goes here. Alright, and from there we can change the font size. It's 36. We can change what kind of font it is. We've got loads. Here at Stanzas we love Garamond. It's really nice. I love that particular font, especially when it's italicized. It's something real classy about it. You can also do, it's a whole pile of really fancy stuff. Typically I don't really use that much. Probably the other most common thing I do is add a picture. So you can add a image frame. Here's a rectangle frame tool. But what I find is much easier is to just Command and D on the Mac, or I think it's Control and D on the Windows, I think. Import. My computer's a little bit slow. That will bring up your import for photo files. So if we go here, we've got Stanzas. Or actually, let's just go to September. It's a little easier. So, here's all of our all of our organizing. So everything all cut up into different bits and pieces. All of our really nicely organized. Yeah, give the intention of it being nicely organized anyway. So if we go here to September, here's an image. Look, it's Neil. That's actually a headshot. So I can click that, and then I can put it in and frame it here to different sizes. So that's how I insert my images. From the images, then you can add boxes. All right. And you can make those different types of shapes. You could change the colors and styles. So, you can make it a purple and do all sorts of different things. And once you're happy with how that looks, I usually press Shift and W, and it gives you an idea of just a little bit more clear of what that might look like. So here's Neil looking a bit distraught. There's a nice purple box, and some text goes here. All right. So that's kind of pretty much how I would start creating a book. But I'll show you, here's one I made earlier. This is the September edition. Alright, the first thing you'll notice is that it's really thin. Okay, so I've made, because of the way we're making stanzas at the moment, each page, right, this way gets printed as one portion of the A4, and then this is the other portion of the A4, and what I do then is I cut it here, and that makes 2 books side by side. Alright, it might be a little bit confusing, but that's essentially what it works out as. It's just a way to make A6 fit onto an A4 page so that when I print it, I get twice as much out, twice as much bang for my buck. So it's really important to remember when you're doing your top bit to copy it onto your bottom bit. And that's actually what happened in the newest book that I just made, the October one. When I came down here to the contents section, I did the first bit here, but I forgot to change the second bit. So the September contents, some of those actually stayed on the October book, which is frustrating, but there you go. It's not the worst thing that can happen. These things do happen from time to time. So it's really important to take your time with these things, be patient. But of course, with stanzas, we have such a quick turnaround. It's sometimes hard to get in those last minute proofs. So this is what I do. You can see we have our text box here with stanzas, and our image box here with our logo. And I made a nice little line here to zoom in a little bit. So that's just a line, and I made that using this button here. So a line tool, and I just made it nice and straight, which it won't do at the moment. But anyways, you make it like that and increase your line. So you can do all sorts of funny things with that there. If I was happy with that and I'm like, oh, that's a nice line, but then I realized, it's like, oh, you know what, actually I want it to be diagonal, you can just press the button R, or you can go over here to the rotation tool and now click and drag, and it will drag it at an angle. So let's say we want it to be 45 degrees. Now it's here like this. You see, so it's some sort of ways you can do those kind of things. But we don't want that to be there. That looks terrible. So I'll just zoom back out a little bit. And you can also see these things here. These are my grids. So these are actually just lines. And what I did here is I click into my ruler, and then I drag and make grids. And I really, really like grids, because this one here shows me where I'll probably be cutting the paper right in half. And then I give myself a little bit of space on either side just in case I make a mistake, so I can cut in here or I can cut into here. It's not going to be a big issue. And this one here just shows me exactly where the center of it is. And what I've actually done is I've got up here to my master's page, okay? Now it would be really frustrating for me to make these grids on every single page, alright, which they are. If I was to do that manually, it would take quite a while. And it would also be really frustrating to have to put all of these numbers down here on every single page as well for the number of the pages. It just takes a long time and it's really tedious. But up here in your master's pages, you have the option of creating templates that you want to go on the whole document. So here you can see I put in my grids, and I also put in this. This is a really, really cool little box. You go up here to, there's a type, insert special character, and markers, current page number. Alright, so when you click that, it brings up this little box. It'll show you an A, and you can actually format that. So I could make this whole bunch of different font sizes. I could change it into what font I wanted. I could make it bold or italics. If there was a couple of different things, or that was a number or letters instead of a number, I could increase the spacing, or I could make it all caps or small caps. There's loads of different things you could do to that. And then when you're happy with it, oops, don't do that. Then when you're happy with it, you can copy that onto your different areas where you want all of your numbers to appear. So I have numbers here, numbers here, numbers here, and numbers here, and my grids. I then take both of these, and on the Mac I control click, I'm not sure what it is on Windows, and you apply master to pages, okay? So when you're here, I always just go all pages, okay? Now the problem, actually I'm going to do that right now, so let me just show you that. The one problem with that is apply master to pages, all pages, alright. Now if I come back here to my first page, alright, so my grids are here, that's great, I love it, I've got my grids, but I've also got number, okay, and I don't want to have a page number on my first few pages, okay, because I don't want a page number on the cover page, and I probably don't want it over here on my intro because it's kind of a pre-book setting. Maybe don't want it on my contents page, but probably want it to start over here, okay, at number 4. So what you can do, you can click here and you can override all master page items. You click that, and now, so you see what just happened there? Let me just undo that. Okay, do that again. Watch this box. Okay, control click, override all master page items, and now that box has become usable, so I can click it. Okay, beforehand I can't click it, I can't do anything, I can't mess around with that. Now override, and I can click it, and I can just delete. Alright, so now it's gone. And I do the same thing here, and I probably do the same thing down here. Alright, so I can come down here 2, 3, and 4. I said I don't want, oops, there we go, so I can highlight those, override, and now here we go, I can delete, oops, not my grid, I can delete, I can delete, this one, and I can delete this one, and I can delete this guy, and don't forget this guy. Because the way I'm designing it, I have to remember to duplicate those things on both sides of my page, which is a pain. That's what we're doing for now. We're going to be changing our style again in January. We just like keeping things fresh and experimenting and doing new things. So yeah, so this has been fun for a while, but we will be changing up again. And of course, the design process is a lot of fun for me, and I really like experimenting and trying new things. So, like I said, I mean, because I try and keep it fairly simple, I usually just stick to text and images like these. You can have a little bit of fun with this as well. You can put in gradients if you wanted to. You could make this red to yellow for some reason. We don't really print a lot of color because it's just much more expensive, but you could add in lots of color elements. Over here, I have no idea what that button does. A gap tool. I don't know what that does either. Yeah, there's really interesting. A pen tool. You can create shapes with your pen tool and your pencil tool. Similarly, I actually have no idea what that does as well. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these that I haven't quite played with yet. I kind of find you can play with these, but you kind of start overcomplicating things, and I like to keep it relatively simple and kind of classic looking. Or at least I try to. You will notice as well, I always have these stretched out to the limits. But when we print them, because of the style of printing that we're doing, it goes through a machine that has kind of rolls, and it feeds the paper through these rolls. And because it has rolls, it has to have borders for the rolls to go through. So when we print this, there's actually a white border along the corners of the page, which is a little frustrating. I would love it to be right to the edge, but that would mean we'd have to use another printer, and we'd have to cut the paper out. So it's a different process, and it can add more time and money. So yeah, so this kind of works for now, but I would love to one day be able to get it just exactly what I see here is what's printed in the end. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We're a small organization with limited means, but we have a lot of fun. So I suppose one other thing that's really useful to know when you've got your text bars is formatting your font. So let me just go up here to the front up here. So you'll see this is a good one to use actually because there's quite a lot happening in this element. This is my little editorial that I always write every month, just kind of about the theme. So here it's bold and underlined. So just up here I just went to bold. Alright, it's not Command B like you might think. Or no, is it Command B? No, it's not Command B. That gives us our text frame options. So yeah, but to make that italic, it's Command Shift and I, and that would make that italic. But because it's bold, it's actually become bold italic as well. So Command Shift I, bring that back. We're on bold. It's 12 point, but we can increase that, and it's underlined. Okay, so that's there underlined, or Command and U. I think does that? Nope, that doesn't actually do that at all. Command Shift U. Ah yes, Command Shift U makes it underlined. So Command Shift U, no underlined. Command Shift U again, now it's underlined. What we can also do here, and I often do this for titles and things, is make it small caps. Okay, so just watch this font and see what happens with small caps. Okay, so the first letters that were capitalized are still big, but those small letters that weren't, so see they're lowercase, now they're the same size, but they're capitalized. Okay, so watch what happens now if I make it all caps up here. Alright, so now everything has become a capital letter as if I had made it capitals myself. Okay, but I really, really like small caps, just gives that really nice chiseled look. And we do that quite a lot with these things. I could also make it superscript, okay, or subscript. Those things are useful for if you're making like a TM or like a trademark, or if it was a fraction or something like that. You could make things superscript or subscript, those kind of things. But I don't really do that too often. Or of course you can strike through, which can be funny sometimes if you're writing something. You can use that quite effectively to strike through. Also here we have what's known as a drop cap. So that's where you drop the capital into the paragraph. Okay, so here it's a drop cap at 2. And all you do to make that is over here in your paragraph tab, there's loads of things you can do here. You can increase your indents, so I can make this go in. That's the whole paragraph. I could do just the first line. So now that's gone in. I could what does this one do? This is I don't know what this is. What does this do? Oh, that brings it all down to add some spacing. Never really used that. And this here is our drop caps. So we can make it 3, or we can make it 4, or we can make it 5, we can make it 6. And now it's every time I increase it, it increases it by another line. So let's bring that back to 2. And over here, I can increase that drop cap in. Okay, so it's quite nice as well. So there you go. Drop caps down, and oops, it's gone. It's gone away. It's made it too big. And dropping the cap in, which is pretty cool. I quite like that actually. I might use that a little bit in future. So just make that back to 0 and make this back to 2. So, this one brings spaces up, but that's boring. I don't like that at all. And this one over here, again, similarly, bring things in. Oops, I can't extend it out. And we'll bring the other side of the thing in here. So again, you can use those for just making it look exactly the way you want it to, but I typically just stick to increasing the indenting or the drop caps. If you want to change your justification, I can justify all my lines, so now it's all spaced out evenly, but it does give it these funny gaps. What I typically use is this one, justify here, so now the last line is left aligned, which is just a little bit cleaner. Or you can get your jagged edges or center aligned or any of those things. If you want to find more options, you can click up here, and now you've got all of these, loads more options, lots of different styles, hyphenations, paragraph rules. You can set lots of your own rules, and you can do loads of these things, and you can actually create them as kind of templates and then save those templates and apply them. I probably should do that, I just haven't really got around to it. But yes, loads of options there, which is really, really useful. If you wanted to add borders, again, you just, sorry, just 1 second as well. I can double click this, and now I can operate within it. And then if I click outside and then press V, or else go back up to the selection tool, now I'm using the text box, but I'm not affecting the text within it. It's really important to remember. Sometimes I think I'm doing something to the text box, but I'm still double clicked and it's actually affecting the text inside. So do be careful of that. It's happened once before where I wanted to double check what this would look like when I was printing. I wanted to do this and see what it looked like. And I was inside the text box and I pressed Shift W and I made a big W in the middle of a sentence and I didn't realize, and I printed it with a big W. So just do be careful when you're fiddling around that you're not operating in your text box, that you're just operating on your text box. So here again, I can apply borders and I can apply different styles and shapes. And there's some really funky stuff there. I can make some dots all around the edges, or I could do a shape. I get some 2 thin lines, and then I could change the corner and make it beveled. So you can see here now it's different things. So there's loads of stuff you can do to the text box as well as the text inside. Over here then, we've got our italics, and we've also got some really interesting pronunciation stuff going on here. And because I always use Garamond, that actually didn't work for this. So if I change this back to Garamond, it actually didn't register some of these more complicated phonetic symbols. So I had to use Lucida Grande, and then it came through. So a little different. Lucida is a sans serif, so what that means is it's very straight. It doesn't have any of these nice tails. It's just very straight and to the point, and it worked for what I wanted it to do. So there you go, guys. I think that is pretty much a fairly decent introduction. Once you know how to make text and how to add images, you can pretty much make your own book. And then the last thing I suppose to know is what I do at the very end. I save, and I just, or I can export it as a PDF. Now that's fine if I was just printing off something that didn't need to be paginated like a book does. That'll just print off exactly what I've done, and then if I take that PDF to the printers, it won't look like a printed book. It would just be individual pages, and I would have to do something else to them myself. So that's just printing it if I want to do it that way. But what I always do is print booklet. Okay. Now it's a little frustrating. I had to get a slightly different add-on to do this. I'm not sure why my default InDesign printing doesn't quite work, but I found a simple fix, and it worked really well. Just one second, I've got the spinning bouncy ball of death over here. It's just a little slow at the moment. My battery's running low. You can see it's getting a little tired. And of course, I've got a whole pile of apps open and Windows things or Windows open. So yeah, just give it a second, but it will work now. 1 second. Come on. Oh my goodness, come on. Anyway, of course, this would happen right now. Ugh. Anyway, normally I just file. Yeah, let's force quit that. I'll show you that another day. So what that does though is it saves it over here to my PDF writer. I just saved that booklet, and over here is my September PDF. And what you'll notice in this is it aligns each page according to the appropriate page number rather than the order that I've created them in InDesign. Because I have to fold all of these pages in half and make them into a book, the PDF writer knows that I want it to be laid out to the actual page numbers. So you can see here there's the first page, and there is the last page of my book, and they're on the same page. So when I fold that in half, this would become the front half, and this would become the back half. Okay, and it's done the same the whole way down. My second last page and my second page, my third last page, third last page, and my third page, and it's what swaps them around like that. So it will go 1, and then the other side will be this, and then 2, and then the other side will be this. Okay, so that's really, really nifty. And then I can send this to the printers, and the printer now will print this as one page, and will print this on the back, and I can fold them up, and it will work the way I want it to work. And then of course, because of that, I also have this becomes my middle page, and you can do some really fun stuff with your middle page. You can have really big images here, and you can do some really cool stuff. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So then once I've done that, I just take this little thingy and I move it back over to September, and I've got my InDesign, and I've got my September Stanzas 2017 PDF saved here, and all of the things that I used for that particular month. So there you go, guys. That is a rough introduction to Lightroom and how we make our books. So yeah, it's fun. It's a little complicated, and there are mistakes that are always made. But yeah, that was cool, guys. I hope you get a kick out of watching it, and thanks very much. Till next time.